the movies made us do it. Me and Matt are back. How are you, Matt?
I'm pretty good, sir. Are you?
I'm all right. Doing good.
Sweet.
It's Friday, isn't it?
It is.
We got there. Another week done.
Hate it.
But yeah, it's been pretty good for movies on my end for the most part.
Not too bad.
Yeah. How about you? Been all right?
Yeah.
Good. Let's talk about it. Where do you want to start? Did you want to start?
Should we start with Hellraiser?
Ooh, all right. Starting with the big one. Usually make people wait for the big one, but yeah.
We can always start with something else.
No, it's too late. The picture's up now. We're committed. Hellraiser 2022. So I was not sure about this film until I saw the trailer, and then when I saw the trailer, I was like, "This looks really good," and I'm really excited for it. So I waited to watch it with a friend because a friend of mine, huge Hellraiser fan, and so I went to her house to see it. And well, I'm curious what you made of it actually.
Well, I mean, so I saw the trailer. I've been hearing about this for a while, and there was good and bad sort of warning signs. The trailer I thought did a pretty good job of showing off.
Yeah.
The director's previous stuff, I reviewed The Night House not so long ago, actually.
You did, yes.
And
I like The Ritual as well. I really enjoyed The Ritual.
You like The Ritual, so he's got pretty good chops.
Mm-hmm. It's David Bruckner.
Yes. Where do we start? So, well, I guess we could. Do we mention the plot? I suppose.
I guess we could mention the plot. I don't know how spoilery we want to get, but the movie kind of opens with a millionaire called Voight, and he's got this big party happening, and this guy kind of sneaks back to look at this guy's private collection, finds, of course, the lament configuration, or it's not the lament configuration because it's in a different configuration, one of the many configurations, and I guess we'll get to that as we go. But anyway, he gets taken, and plot happens, and then it cuts forward.
I'm never gonna remember. I always mess up this dude, Goran Visnyik.
Who is fantastic.
Who is actually he's pretty good. I mean, I've liked him in a number of things. I really liked him in that time travel series. I forget what it was called now, but I really liked him in that. And yeah, he's pretty good in this.
Mm-hmm. And then we kind of cut 6 years later, and we meet our primary cast of characters. We've got Riley, who's living with her brother Matt and his boyfriend Colin. Riley's like a recovering addict, and she's been sort of taken in by her brother and his boyfriend as they kind of try and keep her on the straight and narrow, and you can kind of tell this guy is burnt out from her shit. He's been trying, and she is obviously a handful, but she is convinced by her obviously sleazy bad guy boyfriend to commit a robbery, and it's of course to steal the box in the lament configuration. They steal it, and hilarity ensues.
I mean, yeah, I guess
that's the plot. So obviously, the puzzle box summons these extra dimensional beings. If you've not watched Hellraiser before, and they have a very warped sense of pleasure. They think pain is pleasure, and you would have thought that Voight, the millionaire who studied them forever, would have known it was probably a bad idea when he asked for these things, but so anyway, we follow Riley, as she tries to kind of save someone because someone goes missing, and she realizes it's her fault.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of sends her back to the Voight mansion, and the plot kind of goes from there. I'm trying to avoid spoilers as best I can. So
I think we'll probably have to spoil bits, but
we will probably have to spoil little bits, but for the most part we can try and avoid what we can avoid. I think some of it's kind of obvious. You can probably, I guess, pretty early on what was going on with Voight. I will say I started this movie and I absolutely fucking hated Riley. In fact, about halfway through the film, I turned to my friend and I said to her, I was like, I just want the two gay guys, that couple, to live. Everyone else is a fucking dickhead, and I just hate them. However, by the end, Riley had won me over, and she does a couple of things in the movie where I was like, you actually made the sensible decision. I'm liking you now. And
I will say she made some sensible decisions.
Yes.
However, that did not make me like her.
Fair, because I thought she was kind of thoroughly unlikable at the start. She won me over by the end, but I could totally see why she wouldn't have won you over, because I was teetering.
She's supposed to be going on this journey to make you like her, and for me, it was like, no.
I still hate you.
I'm sorry, I do not buy your sincerity, love.
Fair enough.
At all. The boyfriend, I really liked him. I thought he was a likable character, to be honest.
Yeah, I was. That's exactly what I said. I was like, that couple, they're great. Everyone else is an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really like. Is it Colin? I really like Colin. I thought he was lovely. The new Cenobites.
I already know you didn't like this as much as I did. I can tell by your voice.
So the Cenobites I really liked. I don't
cool designs.
I don't see that. The thing is I think the designs are amazing. I really liked. Now which one was it? The Gasp, played by Selena Lowe.
Yes,
she was the one that was like very almost Angelique-like. Mm-hmm. I thought her design was amazing, and really I really liked her. She had more personality than the Hell Priest did, I thought.
Yeah, I think it was a deliberate choice that the Hell Priest in this was very emotionless and just like very cold and calculating, and almost kind of has like a weird curiosity about humanity, but she never
she certainly doesn't have the menace that Doug Bradley.
I don't know. I kind of disagree. I think she did. And I thought the main difference was that she never gets angry. Like Doug's version got angry a few times. Mm-hmm. And I almost thought she was more menacing for her calm constantly. She's just like, interesting, more than I'm angry. She's like, oh, you did that? Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I do like her performance. I think I guess the thing is that you can they are definitely not the same character. You can tell. No. You know. And
now the weird thing is they did say that this was a sequel at one point, rather than a straight reboot.
The music cues they use all the.
They do.
Especially at the end.
There's bugger all connecting these. Aside from Leviathan turns up. I guess that's a minor spoiler. But other than that, and the lament configuration being a thing, like it's not. The thing is, it's not linked in any way, but it could easily be in the same universe and it would be fine. I mean, we have seen through previous Hellraiser movies, original Pinhead loses powers, not be Pinhead anymore. We see in this movie create how Cenobites are created, so it's entirely possible that they just made another one, another Pinhead. You know.
Well, I mean, I think the books or the comics. Kirsty becomes Pinhead.
Yeah, so there you go. There's
stuff.
Because you do have kind of slightly redesigned, but not too much Chatterer in this.
Yeah, so
the other works the same, and you could kind of say, well, that's a link because they kind of look almost identical.
I think they felt slightly too clean in places. Like there's something visceral and slightly grooey about the original. Cenobites. I think, and then these ones felt just slightly too clean, which is not horrible. It's not a bad thing, really. It's just, it
just is what it is, I guess.
I do like the fact that they are clothed literally in their removed skin.
Yes,
that's
awesome.
That's really cool. I really like that.
Yeah.
I think my biggest gripe with it is the box itself.
Okay.
And leading on to what they are now, it's
the different configurations.
Well, it's not just the different configurations. It's the fact that now the box is basically just a sacrificial tool.
Yes, because you get different things depending on what configuration it's in.
Yeah,
and
the box, when you, it's going to be slight spoilers, but when every time you change the configuration of the box, a little blade comes out, and depending on whether you,
well, I think the intent is that it cuts you and takes your blood.
Yeah, exactly.
But obviously that can be manipulated.
Yeah, and it's almost like, I'm going to change this, and then I'm going to push it into you, and I'm going to sacrifice you. And that's not what the box was about.
No.
The box is about personal experience. You know, the box is about, you have to really want this.
Well, yeah, because it was meant to be a very hard puzzle to solve.
Yeah, it's the box has a lot more meaning, I think, in the originals.
I will give you that. It's too easily solvable in this.
Yeah.
And you're right.
It's not even about him. The guy who wants to solve it. It's he literally it becomes like a sacrificial demon tool. You know what I mean? It's like, I sacrifice this person to a demon to get my thing, and that's not what Hellraiser was. It's not what. So I didn't like that. I loved the designs. I liked I
loved all the configurations. I thought really cool.
The configurations are very cool, and I liked the mechanic, the way they moved and stuff. That was all lovely. I liked that, but the object itself, it changed so much from the original. I didn't like that. I didn't like the way that had happened. It was it just taken too far away from
what you
original.
That's fair enough.
Having said that, I mostly enjoyed it. It's not the worst.
Oh God, no! We watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre this year, Matt.
Yeah.
I liked this a lot, actually. I think I liked it more than you. I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, I think.
I loved the van scene in the back of the van. I love the way the world kind of moves around and changes when they appear as well. That stuff was really cool.
There's so much to like. That I like. I like
the bit in the back of the van was awesome when it all kind of started changing in the back of the van and she was getting further and further away from them and stuff. I loved all of that. Cool. I actually felt a bit sorry for that girl that I didn't care about by the end of that scene. I was like, oh, that was quite a nasty way to go.
Yeah, I mean,
in the trailer. That's not really much of a spoiler.
Even liked the sort of the house stuff.
Yes, I liked that. It was kind of a puzzle in itself to kind of keep them out and trap them. And
I quite like that as an idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the main sort of bad guy, if you like, he's very reminiscent of Chenard in certain aspects.
I thought they were going to end up having a cameo by Chenard, actually. That was the one I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
it was more of a memory ring than anything else, which just made me sort of go, oh.
Mm-hmm.
So I can recommend the movie.
I certainly recommend it.
I think you should be aware that it's certainly its own thing.
It's a reimagining, and it does do its own thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I honestly didn't like that. That's what I didn't like. I didn't like the new way the box works.
That's fair enough. I can see that being divisive amongst the fan base.
Too mundane. It makes it kind of just a
and it's strange as well in a way because it's a film. This film is very much about addiction. In fact, some of the kind of more ridiculous moments of this film are when horrendous things are happening and we kind of stop for a moment for the lead actress to be like, I'm a drug addict. It's like people are literally getting cleaved in two right now. Why are we talking about this? But it's very much about addiction, and I kind of, to your point, I think they could have done more with that because in the original, as you say, it is that obsession. It's the obsession with solving the puzzle, and it's the obsession with really wanting this to happen. Like, you have to really try. And they could have shown an addiction to the puzzle, which they didn't do. And that might have been a little better.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of felt more. It felt more like, you know, a raise the devil thing. You know what I mean? It felt more less about, you know. I mean, they try and show you that he is, you know, he's immoral and, you know, he's having sex parties and but it didn't feel. You never felt.
He just felt like an asshole to me. I didn't think he.
Yeah,
was
exactly.
That,
he just felt like a bitch asshole, as opposed to Frank in the first one.
Oh god, he's like thoroughly unlikable,
horrible and grubby, and
I must. That's a really
his addictions and his lusts.
I think that is the perfect word to sum up the original Hellraiser. Is grubby.
What's that? Grubby. Yes,
it's really gross and grubby, that movie.
But also the other thing is, I think you genuinely want Kirsty to get through. I think
100%.
You know, Kirsty is such a likable presence, whereas I think with this one, the most likable character isn't the main character. He's almost a side character.
Yeah, I must admit, like I said, it was for me the gay couple were the people I wanted to survive.
Yeah, absolutely.
The addict who is the supposed main character. She did win me over. She did.
Yeah, no,
but
she didn't.
I can totally see if she didn't for you, because it was close. There was a point in the movie where it worked for me, and I was like, okay, now you're in my kind of good graces. But there was a large portion of the film, and I didn't like her.
Trying not to spoil the ending, I will say, yes, she made the right decision.
There were a couple of points where I thought she made a sensible choice.
I think it felt to me like a cop-out.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah, because
it felt kind of earned to me by that point, but
I don't really believe that she was. How do I say this without trying to find?
I think I know what you're trying to say, but
I don't believe that her character was. Let's say penitent.
No, that's true.
I don't believe that. I don't believe in her burden. Okay,
sure, that's fair.
You know,
yeah.
So it felt like a bit of a cop out to me.
Yeah, fair enough.
You know, I still like the movie. It's a really,
I thoroughly enjoyed it. So,
I still like it. There's a lot to like in this movie, but it just takes away a lot of Hellraiser's edge. You know what I mean? It felt. I don't know whether it's not exactly safe, but almost. It almost felt like a safe horror movie.
Sure.
It didn't have the visceralness of the
original
Hellraisers.
Yeah, that's
which is, you know, enough. I mean, that's hard anyway, because those movies have fallen away anyway. They've become something else anyway.
The series, yeah.
Yeah, I always recommend the first two, and then maybe the third.
The third's got CG change, man. I mean, that's worth a watch.
Yeah,
my favourite Cenobite of all time, CG change, man.
Really good. And I like the stuff about the lament configuration in the fourth one.
Yeah.
But apart from that,
I like. There's something to like in most of them. There's at least one thing or two things to like. But for me, I would say this is certainly the third strongest.
Yeah.
I'm quite biased. I really like the second one.
Yeah. The second one's honestly my favourite. I've always loved the second one.
And that's fair enough. I love the visuals of the second one are incredible.
Mm-hmm.
But I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I highly recommend it. I guess you're sort of recommending, but not.
No, I definitely recommend it as a pretty well made horror movie.
Yeah.
There was just a lot of stuff that I have reservations about.
Fair enough. Did you want to, while we're talking about things we've both watched, did you want to circle back to the Midnight Club?
Yeah, why don't we?
I'd watched the last time we did this show, prior to Mary Showed Us Frankenstein. I'd watched all but 2 episodes and I was loving it. I've now watched all of it, so you've now watched all of it. Let's you catch up. What did you think of the Midnight Club?
So, for the majority of it, I really enjoyed it.
Mm.
Um,
It's depressing as shit in places, but
it really is depressing as shit in places. Yeah. I like the lead. I thought she was really good.
Fantastic. Yeah, I thought she was. In fact, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing her in more. I thought she was that good.
I really liked Anya.
Oh man, she's such a dick at first, but she's so I kind of like that character. You know, she's just being a dick, and I'm like, I kind of love you though.
They did a very good job of
explaining why
she's a dick.
I agree. That was really good. Yeah, I loved her by the end. At the start, I loved her for being a dick, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then when I saw
because
why,
she's the funniest character.
Yes, totally. Yeah.
She has the funniest put downs and the funniest
She's
lines.
got the best lines for sure. Yeah.
You know, the only character that I was a bit meh on was the Kevin character, but I think that might be slightly because the actor was a bit. I don't think he was as good as the other actors and actresses. It was
a very strong cast, and I think any kind of weakness really stood out.
Yeah. I really liked. What was his name? Amesh. I thought Amesh was really good.
Was that the gamer guy?
Yes, the gamer guy.
Yeah, he was great.
He was really cool as well. Heather Langenkamp.
Oh, obviously,
brilliant.
Obviously. Always good to see her.
I think the stories were very hit and miss.
Some of them were fantastic. In fact, I thought Anya's was one of the best.
Anya's was pretty good.
The deal with the devil one?
Yeah.
I loved that one.
I really liked the film noir one because
that was cool.
Really cheesy.
But yeah, intentionally so.
And it was really intentionally rubbish.
Yes.
And I really liked that. It was really funny. And I love the way Heather Langenkamp was in almost every story as a different sort. Well, they were all.
They were all in them when they told the story.
But Heather Langenkamp, particularly, some of the accents.
Yeah, and again, I think intentionally so.
Yeah, I think so too. Her accent when she was I think it was the detective one, it sort of verged on Marge Gunderson from Fargo at times, but in a really bad way. And like you said, I think it was intentional. The thing is I think the stories are about the characters. That's the
thing. I think if they didn't in some way relate back to the characters, they would have grated a bit. Yeah, but I thought they did a good job in each story is its own story, and it is kind of like, hey, here's a Twilight Zone episode in the middle of your normal episode. Yes. But they do say quite a bit about the character, about the person telling the story, and that's what I kind of liked about it.
I did. I think those were, and they were done in mostly pretty good ways.
Yeah.
I was a little disappointed towards the end that the overall stuff, not to do with the kids and to do with their illness, but the stuff about the cult before and the family before and stuff like that, didn't really get the due I think it needed.
I actually completely agree. Now seeing all of it, I did feel like the end fell a bit flat.
Yeah.
To be honest. I loved this show overall, but I do think when all of the story finally came together, it just fell a bit flat. Unfortunately.
Yeah, it was the start. You know, they the problem is they keep setting up these interesting things.
Yeah,
you keep seeing this older couple, you know, these old dead couple that keep appearing.
Yeah, it was kind of doing that Hill House thing where you're like, oh, you know, there's going to be all these cool things and we'll learn all about them, and then when you do, it's kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and the sort of all the stuff with the cult and stuff got kind of resolved too early in an unsatisfactory way. It was like, oh, I wanted there to be more about that, and I wanted it to be a bit more interesting.
Well, it kind of feels like it might be sequel baiting, to be honest. I feel like there might be another.
See, me and my wife, when we discussed this, and at the end, it was like, well, how do you do it?
Well, I thought that, because I was like, this is a show about a fucking hospice. They're, you know, surely not. But then the ending, I was like, is there going to be more? It feels like there might be more.
I mean, the only way you can continue it really is with, I mean, Heather Langenkamp is going to be there.
Yeah.
And I guess
you could potentially. It depends how quickly after you set the next one, I guess.
At least one of the characters can return.
Yes.
And well, yeah, I guess if you do a sequel that's directly immediate before they all car kill, I guess, you know. But it was the stuff they set up with the lady in the woods. That it was kind of obvious who she was.
Yeah, I must admit it was kind of clear early.
And when they eventually, she gets into the house and stuff and things go on, it just felt like that's it, and she's gone. It's like, okay, is that the end of that story? And it felt a little just unsatisfactory. It was just, I wanted more about that. I wanted to see more to do with the older couple. I wanted, more about the history of the house and what had happened before. And I think I know it's more to do with the characters, and it's more to do with a study of these dying kids and stuff, which is fine because I think it
did a very good job of that.
It did a really good job with that, and it was, I even the kid that wasn't a terribly good actor, I even liked his character. They all had really good.
I thought all the kids were very well written.
Yeah, I think they all had their little bits. They all had the. And even, like I said, even though some of the stories were a little hit and miss, what they brought to the character was usually, good enough. It was each one had was at least told you about that person, and I think that they did that really pretty well.
Yeah, I agree.
I will say I think I liked it better than Blind Manor.
Fair enough. I'm not sure where I stand. I hadn't considered that until this moment, and now I'm trying to weigh it up. I think I might prefer Blind Manor, but I really liked this a lot, so it's close.
I did, and I think that it almost feels that you can't really compare them, to be honest. But
they're pretty different.
I think you're going because it's all because of the nature of
the director.
Being a Mike Flanagan thing. I think. Yeah. Let's face it. This is being sold on it. The fact that it's Mike Flanagan.
Oh, and it is definitely Mike Flanagan when you watch it. You're like, this is definitely a Mike Flanagan series,
It's certainly not as good as Hill House, because I think, to be honest, that's kind of his pinnacle at the moment. Hill House was just fantastic. I also prefer Midnight Mass. I think that worked slightly better for me.
Yeah.
But I still think it's great. I think it's
fantastic.
A really good series. I think
I'm looking forward to all of these kids acting in other things,
Yeah, agreed.
So.
Yeah, I think the girl that plays Anya, I think she's going to be in House of the Usher.
That's great news.
I think some of the others are going to appear as well. It will be my guess. But yeah, it was actually really. I think the thing is it was really lovely. It was actually, despite the fact that it was about dying kids, it was I thought really heartwarming.
It was in places, yeah. It really was. There was
some really genuinely lovely moments between the characters.
I agree, and I think despite the minor criticisms, fantastic series. Really, really, really enjoyed it, and I absolutely recommend it.
Yeah, I would definitely. I would recommend it. I think it's well worth a watch.
Definitely. So, what else have you watched?
So, I have also seen Bullet Train.
Yes, starring Brad Pitt.
So, directed by David Leitch. Sorry. Who previously done Atomic Blonde, which I love.
We're both a fan of Atomic Blonde, yeah.
He produced things like John Wick, and he's had a lot of involvement in those movies. He produced Kate and Nobody, so he's got real sort of.
He's got pedigree.
Yeah, and he's also, I believe, Brad Pitt's stunt person on a number of occasions.
Oh, really? Interesting.
So with stars Brad Pitt, as I said, Joey King, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Brian Tyree Henry, Andrew Koji, Hiroyuki Sanada. Sandra Bullock makes an appearance, which pleases me no end. So this is, it kind of starts with a young boy being pushed off of a building, basically, which is like and Kimura, played by Andrew Koji, it's his son, and his father is just known as the Elder, played by Hiroyuki Sanada, and you kind of get this feeling that he was the child was used to get the attention of the parents, sort of thing, and he's obviously going to go out for revenge. And then from him you move to Brad Pitt's character, who is basically a hitman who is trying to be more positive, and he's in therapy because he thinks he's bad luck, and even when he's trying to kill people, people seem to die around him. So he's on this sort of, he doesn't, when he's Sandra Bullock is his handler, and he's talking to her on the phone, and she says, take the gun. He's like, no, I don't want to take the gun. I'm not taking the gun. So he doesn't take the gun, but he takes all his like other little bits and pieces, and he's like, I'm trying to be, more positive and stuff like that.
Right.
And, he ends up like nearly getting run over and stepping in a puddle of water and things like that. So he seems to be bad luck. And he's basically hired to get on this train and steal this suitcase from someone. Meanwhile, also on the train, you've got Joey King, who's playing Prince. She is this very hyper-intelligent young girl who is clearly playing games that, have massive designs, as it were. And you've got Aaron Taylor Johnson and Brian Tyree Henry, who are playing. They're called the twins, and for obvious reasons that makes you go, how? But they're sort of hitmen, odd job men that have been hired to take this case, and the son of this Yakuza hitman to this agreed meeting. So that and a bunch of other hitmen. I think one's called the Hornet. There's a number of, like, played by Zazie Beetz, and there's another sort of guy called the Wolf that turns up. They're all basically just all meeting up on the bullet train for various reasons. So what I will say is this movie has pretty much every action cliche known to man.
Okay, is that a bad thing? Yeah, I was going to say, is that a bad thing?
No,
though?
It's not. It really is aware of them. It's completely, it knows that you're aware of them, and it's using them in a really funny way. My favourite characters are Aaron Taylor Johnson and Brian Tyree Henry. They're called Tangerine and Lemon. It's obviously their code names, sort of thing. And Lemon, Tyree Henry, he has this philosophy. Everything he has learned about people, he learned from Thomas the Tank Engine. He reads people like trains from Thomas the Tank Engine.
Brilliant. Oh my God, does he say, like, that's a Percy over there? I don't trust a
Percy.
Yes! Amazing. Amazing.
He's got this little...
I love this man.
He's got this tray of stickers, and he's talking to the son of this gangster that they've sort of kind of kidnapped, or well, they've saved him.
Kidnapped, sort of.
Yeah. They've kind of kidnapped, kind of saved him for this gangster, and they're talking about this thing, and he's got this tray of little sheet of stickers, and he says to him, he's explaining his theory, and he takes off this little sticker of Percy and he puts it on his head, and he goes, "See, you're a Percy." And my favourite is wrong uns are diesels. Fuck diesels.
Fantastic.
Oh, that was fucking hilarious. I love those. Those two were my absolute favourite characters. They're really funny. So obviously it's it was filmed nowhere near Tokyo and nowhere near Japan. It was filmed in LA on a green screen, and sometimes the green screen is a little ropey at places. But it doesn't take away the overall joy of the movie, I don't think. The fight scenes, again, brilliant. Really well done fight scenes. Every character has their little quirks and they're funny. The plot isn't going to tax you. The things that you find out are not really big surprises or anything. What this is a genuinely funny, well-made action movie that will, I think, please anyone who loves action movies. It's
all right.
That's genuinely fun. Yeah, it's just genuinely fun. There's no bloody messaging or anything like that. It's just, here are these idiot people. It feels like kind of a bit like a what's his name? A Snatch type thing.
Cool.
It's got that sort of feel. You've got these larger than life characters. All sort of merging on this train to do their little bits and pieces. They're all brought there by different reasons. There are a number of cameos that are really smile-inducing. It's just a solidly made action movie that's really fun, and I highly recommend it.
That sounds awesome. I must admit that the trailer won me over, and I've been hearing pretty good things about it, so I've been looking forward to it. But that's good news.
It is just real fun, real joy of an action movie, and I really loved it. Real great movie.
Awesome. Well, another positive film from me. I don't know how positive it will be for everyone, though. I finally got to see Shin Ultraman, a film I have been looking forward to seeing since May, and I've been trying to watch since May, but they're bastards and did the bloody film festival circuit across the world, which, whenever a film does that, you're like, oh, for God's sake, I'm not going to get to see this forever. There was a point when I was like, I might just download this in Japanese and just watch it, without subtitles and just kind of pick up what I can.
I can understand that.
I've done it before, but I was like, it will probably ruin my experience overall. I should just wait and watch it properly.
I mean, I think the problem with that is most of the time with some of the hentai movies, not hentai. What's the word I'm looking for? Giant robot monster movies. Kaiju, thank you. Hentai.
That's
kaiju movies. Yeah, that's something
a whole other thing.
With most of those movies, you can watch them in Japanese and get the plot, and you don't need to worry about it.
Oh, for sure. It's just like,
However, with something like Shin Godzilla, if this is
God, if you watch Shin Godzilla in Japanese with no subtitles and you didn't understand Japanese, fuck me, you would be lost.
So, does this lean towards that, or?
Well, I will say this, as someone who is an Ultraman fan, someone who is a huge Godzilla fan, and someone who watches a lot of Japanese media, movies, TV shows, anime, I will say that this is the most Japanese thing I've watched in a long time. and I mean that in like a really good way, but I don't know how well this is going to translate to, general audiences.
Like a wider audience, yeah.
So Shin Godzilla, I rank right up there in my list of Godzilla movies. It's kind of up there with 1954. I think it's a fantastic reimagining, reboot of the series, take on Godzilla. And it's got a lot of humor in it. It's got a lot of dark humor in it.
It's got very dark humor in it.
Very dark humor. It's got some horrific scenes, but it has a really good sense of humor about it. But it's all kind of reasonably dark or subtle humor. One of my favorite things about Shin Godzilla is that one of the main guys in the movie his job title gets longer as the film goes on, and it just gets ludicrous by the end because everyone's so incompetent that he keeps getting like promotions and extra jobs, and his job title just keeps getting longer and longer and longer. It's fantastic. But anyway, I think Shin Godzilla is a fantastic film. I could talk forever about it, but the one thing I will say about it is that for all of its dark comedy, it's a very dark movie. It's quite a bleak movie. It's you know, it's got some
which let's face it, could have been bleaker if they would have gone the way they wanted to go.
The original plan was insane for Shin Godzilla. The all universe encompassing Godzilla. But so I was going into Shin Ultraman expecting something like that. I mean, I saw the trailer and I was like, okay, I'm not sure how Ultraman's gonna fit in with that kind of tone of Shin Godzilla. And the easy answer is it doesn't, and it's not trying to be. I feel like as much as Shin Godzilla thematically is a callback to the original Godzilla, you know, there's a lot
more of a disaster movie than
disaster movie. The horror element is kind of back in force and all of that. As much as Shin Godzilla is to Godzilla, that this is to Ultraman. This is a love letter to original series Ultraman, the first Ultraman series. I mean, obviously he looks like the original Ultraman for the most part, bit skinnier.
Yeah, they haven't embellished him up or anything. He just looks like basic Ultraman.
He does, to the point that he's even got the kind of imperfections in the mask. You see the folds, so it is almost like a suit, even though it's full CG. It kind of folds like the suit used to fold and stuff. The Specium Ray is actually hand drawn. They got the original guy who hand drew the Specium Ray. Apparently, he actually hand drew it. So you've got like CGI effects over the top of it, but you can see the actual ray. In fact, is in the still on this video. Is actually the hand drawn ray,
that is awesome.
Which is great. It has a lot of homages. It's got some pretty funny parts. I mean, it's got certainly a good sense of humor about it, as the original Ultraman did. The original Ultraman is way funnier than, you know, it's much more of a light-hearted comedy show for the most part. It kind of got a lot darker as shows went on, but that first one, it's very child-friendly and very, you know, fun in that way. And this movie's kind of got a bit of that. It's very strange in places. There's a particular shot I'm thinking of where Ultraman, I can't explain it. You would have to see the scene.
Right.
But he kind of flies in backwards and then spins around and kicks a monster into a mountain. And it's way weirder than I'm making it sound when you actually watch it. It's bizarre, but it's kind of awesome.
What, you mean it's janky or
intentionally so?
Right. Okay. What? Like he's on strings or something?
Yeah, kind of. It's almost like they got a model and just spun it around.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of. The CG, for the most part, because obviously they didn't go with suit, they went with CG, I think is pretty good. Towards the end, it's like, okay, you can see the budget here. It's not, you know, the CG's kind of not so great towards the end. But for the most part, it works really well. I think they did a really good job with the designs. It's an interesting opening. It almost trolls you, the opening of this movie. It literally opens with Shin Godzilla. It does the logo, and then the title of the film is Shin Godzilla, and then that disappears and it becomes Shin Ultraman. It's really weird. Yeah, it's bizarre. But I loved this film. I don't think it's going to be for everyone because it is very Japanese humor and very Japanesey in its style, which it seems obvious for a kaiju thing. Even more so. It's an interesting setup. Like, the opening of the movie is just shots of monsters being defeated by the SSSP, and like it's like this was defeated by this and this was defeated by that, and then obviously we get Ultraman turn up. It's kind of in the same way that Shin Godzilla was people reacting to Shin Godzilla. A lot of this film is people dealing with Ultraman. And their interactions with Ultraman and how the public perceive Ultraman and who is Ultraman and all of that kind of stuff. Focuses a lot more on that. It's not a remake, much like Shin Godzilla was not a remake of 1954. None of the characters are going to turn up in this, like the TV characters are not in this. It's not like a remake of that. It's its own thing. I think it's great. It kind of feels like, it almost feels like a series and a movie, and it's not overly long, but it feels almost episodic in places. Like, you get a number of aliens appear with different agendas, and then they get dealt with, and then it moves on to the next alien. It kind of, we don't just get one big thing. It's like a couple of things happen along the way.
So does it cram in a lot then? Is it?
It gets. It doesn't feel overfull. It doesn't feel crammed. Okay. It feels fine. There's probably less kaiju battles than I was expecting from an Ultraman film, but that's very much in line with Shin Godzilla. So yeah, from that perspective, it works. It's got some interesting kind of cultural discussion going on in the movie, which is kind of fun. There's a particularly humorous scene when the main female character is herself brainwashed and then turned into a giant monster herself, and then has to deal with the internet fallout of that when she's reshrunk back down, and the photos that people have taken while she was giant walking around in a skirt.
Okay.
I mean, it's not explicit, but it's just kind of like, I think it's one of the aliens is like, oh, sorry, I didn't consider that humans would do that. Like, that's our bad.
Okay.
It's bizarre, man. It's a bizarre movie, but I loved it. I had so much fun.
Does it feel like a parody then?
No. Okay. And the stakes are really high towards the end. It's got a really cool ending. It's just got. It doesn't feel like a parody. It feels like a love letter.
Right.
It's a love letter to original Ultraman, in my opinion. And original Ultraman had a lot of humor, and this does, has its humor as well. But it certainly has high stakes, and it certainly gets serious when it needs to be serious. It's really well acted by everyone. I really loved it. Really, really loved it. It's very interesting. I think it's going to be Marmite for people.
Yeah.
I feel like most people could probably watch Shin Godzilla and maybe they'd find it, I don't know, I think the biggest criticism of Shin Godzilla would probably be that it's boring. But I don't think that anyone would come out of it being like, I hated that. Whereas with this, I feel like some people could come out and be like, what was that? What did I watch?
Okay. Yeah, I think that Shin Godzilla did feel a little long at times.
See, I didn't have that reaction, but I know quite a few people that did, so I understand that. Mm-hmm. I don't think you'd get that with this. There's a lot going on all the time. It just gets quite out there, and I just wonder how Western audiences will take that. Yeah. I had a blast, though, so I had fun. I'm waiting for Shin Kamen Rider now, next year.
Yeah. I guess that from what you said, it sounds like this is good for anybody who has even a remote knowledge of Ultraman.
I think so. If you like that original series and you remember that kind of,
but I'm kind of guessing that if you have no knowledge of any of that stuff or are into kaiju movies, then it might be a bit of a struggle.
It might be a struggle if you're not at least into kaiju movies or Japanese culture. Mm-hmm. You might struggle. I think you'll like it. I'm really intrigued what you think of it.
I'm definitely going to watch it
because it's got some really good stuff in it.
I do have a soft spot for Ultraman.
I think you might end up really enjoying it. It's fun. But yeah, I don't want to say too much. I don't want to spoil it or anything. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I do think it's going to be Marmite for a lot of people. But but for me, I mean, I've wanted to see this movie all year, so
I know. This has been your most anticipated movie.
It has been my most anticipated movie because Shin Godzilla had such an effect on me that, I was like, I wouldn't say this has had the same effect on me. It's not like that kind of, it's not on the level of Shin Godzilla for me. But then I'm more of a Godzilla fan than I am an Ultraman fan.
Yeah.
I like original Ultraman. I like Ultraman Tiga and, a few Ultraman series I really enjoy. I haven't seen all of them. There are a million.
Yeah, I was going to say there's quite a lot.
Ultraman Next was cool.
I haven't seen. Didn't Netflix Netflix do one recently.
Oh, the animated series is good. Yeah, Ultraman. That's just called Ultraman just to make things confusing. I hate it when things do that. Everything should have a subtitle. Everything.
And
I hate it. It does my fucking head in.
Yeah, I agree. I loathe that.
Yeah,
like trying to, it feels like they're trying to supersede it, and it really annoys me.
Yes, exactly. Or put their mark on it. They're like, this is our Ultraman, and it's like, well, it's fine, but it's not.
Yeah,
it's very different, that anime as well.
Yeah,
they never do the giant thing. They're like human sized the whole time. Yeah,
it's more of a Guyver type thing.
Yes, almost. Yeah.
Okay,
that's a show that needs to come back.
Yeah.
Anyway, what else have you watched?
I have also seen Where the Crawdads Sing.
Yes, a movie with the trailer for this. I was interested.
But, well, that's kind of what sold me on it. So, this is directed by Olivia Newman, and it stars Daisy Edgar Jones, Taylor John Smith, Harris Dickinson. It's got David Strathairn in it, Sterling Mercer Jr., Michelle Hyatt, and basically, so it's set in the sort of period between sort of late 50s to the late 60s.
Okay.
It starts with the finding of the body of Chase Andrews, who looks like he took a fall from.
Is it like a hunting tower or something?
It's a fire. It's a
fire
tower.
Right.
It's a fire tower in this marshy swampland of Carolina, and something about the way he banged, his head is banged, makes the two coppers think that it's murder. It's not an accident. So immediately, accusations start coming around. Oh, who could it possibly be? And suspicion eventually falls on
the weird loner.
On young Kaya, who lives in the swamp, or who lives in the marsh, on her own. And there are so many rumors about this girl. She's the missing link. She's part wolf.
Amazing.
She's part wolf. She's feral.
This is the kind of thing that school kids would say, though.
Exactly.
That's
not school kids saying it. It's all the adults that are saying it. It's
oh wow, okay. That's a bit of a stretch at that point.
All the adults are saying it. That she's just a terrible person. She's obviously horrible. So of course the cops go to arrest her.
She looks like a sweet little kid.
Yeah, she runs.
Like when you say the missing link, I think of like Yeti or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
She doesn't look like the missing link, does she?
Sort of orangutan looking dude, but no. So she runs, but they catch her. They bring her in. Now, David Strathairn he's a retired lawyer, but he decides he's going to defend her.
Fine.
And he sort of goes into her cell and he says, "Look, they're going to charge you with murder. They're convinced. There were fibers found on him that were found on a hat in your house. We know that you had some kind of relationship with this kid. So they're going to charge you with murder, and you're basically going to get the chair.
Yeah.
You're either going to get life imprisonment or probably more likely the chair."
Yeah.
And he says, "I don't know whether you understand what's happening, but I need to know more about you. I need to know you.
I need something to work on here."
Exactly. If I defend you, I need to know more about you. So then she proceeds to tell her story, which starts with her, as a 6-year-old girl, with a drunkard, overbearing, wife-beating father, who played by Garrett Dillahunt,
the traditional American father.
Yes.
In a movie.
Played by Garrett Dillahunt, who reviewed him recently in that comedy show.
It's kind of
Sprung.
Oh yes, Sprung. It's kind of become like almost a parody. That's such a stereotype now.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, it's true in a lot.
Well, no, of course it exists. I just lose count of the amount of movies, particularly horror movies. I think that's probably being a horror fan. You just see it all the time.
This is full of very stock characters.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it is, and I don't mean that in an unkind way.
No.
I just mean
just is what it is.
You know who these characters are. You know what they represent. So basically, her mum leaves, and then slowly all of her brothers and sisters leave, and she's the only one left with her father. And for a while, she just stays out of his way, and they have a kind of a weird relationship that he does sort of look after her, and he keeps warning her about, the dangers of the town and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
And eventually, even he disappears. So she's like 6 years, well, maybe a bit older than 6 at this point, but she's incredibly young, and she is literally living on her own in the marsh in this house.
In a pretty hospitable place, I guess.
And she has there's a couple, Mabel and Jumpin, who they run the town store, and they help her out. First of all, when she runs out of food, she remembers that the store buys mussels, so she gets up early in the morning, and she catches mussels, and she brings them in, and she trades for like grits and things and candles, and so they kind of keep their eye on her. They kind of they try to tell her to go to school, but when she goes to school, she's ridiculed and stuff. And that I don't want to spoil anything, and I don't want to go into the deeper stuff. But she falls in love with this guy, Tate, and he kind of something happens there, and she meets this Chase character, and stuff happens, and I'm not gonna go into all that.
No.
So this movie it's a beautifully made movie. It's really pretty. I have heard accusations that it's too pretty for the swamps of Carolina, but
sure.
The thing is that her character is she becomes a naturalist, and she draws and she writes and stuff.
So I guess the film kind of shows it as she sees it, right?
Yeah, exactly. The Daisy Edgar Jones, who plays Kaya, is so good. She's got this such a vulnerable sweetness to this character that you completely I certainly was. I was completely with her character for the whole movie. Everything hinged on her and her performance, and I think the other performances were good, but it's all about her, and I think she did a tremendous job. I've seen her in a few other things. I mean, she was in the later seasons of Cold Feet, where she played one of the main character's daughters. She's a really good young actress. Now I'm going to say something here that sounds like it's mean or horrible, but it's not. I'm going to say two things. One, my mum will love this movie.
Why is that a bad thing?
Because I think that kind of puts it into a kitsch thing. And the other thing I'm going to say is, this feels like a very expensive Hallmark movie.
I have a soft spot for Hallmark movies, so fine.
And I'm saying that not as an insult. I am saying that
Hallmark movies have their place
as an indicator
usually
of
at Christmas.
Movie. Yeah, exactly. I'm saying that as an indicator of the kind of movie it is.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
because it could have gone either way. I must admit, from the trailer, I was like, "Is this gonna end in tragedy? Is this gonna be horrible? Is it gonna be?" Because there's certainly peril in the trailer, and you're like, "Oh, this could go really nasty."
Horrible things do happen to her.
Is this gonna go full on John Rambo? Is she gonna end up back in the swamps murdering people with a bow and arrow? I don't know.
It's not that type. Definitely, it's not that. It's more of a. It's just quite a gentle, sweet mystery thriller. You know, it has, even though the overall mystery isn't really, you know, it's we're not talking, you know, Columbo levels of mystery here. We're talking quite low key, but it's all about if anything, it's more of a coming of age movie. It's all about this, you know, how this young girl survived and what she did to, you know, survive, and how ostracized she is for no fault of her own.
Just for being an outsider and living where she lives.
Just for being the fact that she lives on the outskirts of town, and, you know, she's just different, and not almost the whole town just thinks of her as subhuman. I really enjoyed it.
I'm glad. I must admit the trailer was really strong.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you could probably say that it's, you know, it's very light on the whole murder mystery type stuff. So it's not that sort of movie, but it's a genuinely nicely made, sweet movie with a really good central performance. You know, it's really well shot. It's just a nice movie, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think people will certainly, critics have come against this movie, and I kind of see what their point is, but I disagree. I think there is so much room in this world for just a really good fucking nice movie.
Yes, there is definitely room in the world for a nice movie. Occasionally, it is kind of nice just to watch a nice movie.
Not everything has to be some epic murder mystery or
gore fest or action.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. No, I completely agree. I completely agree with you.
If it's a genuinely nice movie that I would recommend to anybody who just wants to see a very well made coming of age story, which has a kind of you know, it has a sort of feel of maybe The Notebook, that sort of movie. You know what I mean? That what's the name of the person? Is it Nicholas Sparks? It has that sort of feel about it. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it, and like I said, Daisy Edgar Jones was amazing in it. Really loved her acting in it. Her character is just genuinely lovely, and you know, I think you will. It doesn't sag or anything. There's no time, I don't think, where it sort of drops. It has a really satisfying ending. For me, I found the ending satisfying. I think some people probably won't find it that satisfying, but for me, I found it very satisfying. Yeah. It was just really nice movie, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's
just nice, and that's fine.
It's a nice movie, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a good, nice movie.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I'm all for that. So, is there anything else you wanted to cover?
Well, I think that's it for the movies. But I think, you know, so there's only sort of two, I think, things that I found interesting.
Only two things I have found interesting in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
that's one thing a week.
Well, I think one is, and sadly, it's superhero stuff. But I know you're deeply.
I'm not. I don't like. I'm not. You know. I'm just kind of bored.
It's just two things that have made me very happy in that sphere, and they're both DC, which really makes me happy.
I saw a thing today.
Yeah.
Showcase Cinema advert.
Oh yeah.
Where they said that Black Adam is the best rated movie that DC's had since the Dark Knight trilogy. And I was like, that is a fucking low bar to be like, hey, look, this is the best of the crap. But hey, it could be great. I don't know.
You know, DC. The thing is I've always been a DC person. I love DC.
Yes, DC has your heart.
Really been a Marvel guy. It's always stung that the Marvel movies are just so much better than, well, they were so much better than the majority of the DC stuff. So officially, Henry Cavill is back as Superman.
Yes. Yes, I did see that. Yes.
Which, despite what you you think of?
No, I love Henry Cavill as Superman.
Henry Cavill as Superman
he's great. I just want to see him be a positive Superman, please.
Yes.
Can we see him be actual Superman?
But that's what we all want. We all want a positive Superman. I think.
And like it or hate it, but Zack Snyder's Justice League at least ended with us actually having Superman feeling like Superman again. It's like, oh, finally, he's actually Superman now. And then it was like, now he's sacked. It's like, oh.
So that really pleased me. I was really happy with that. Yeah. And I mean, I'm going to see Black Adam anyway.
Oh, I'll see it. I mean, The Rock's charismatic as fuck. I can watch The Rock. You know.
I'm going to watch it for Dr. Fate because Dr. Fate's one of my
favorites. And again, Pierce Brosnan is Dr. Fate.
Exactly.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And the other thing was James Gunn has been announced as their DC's showrunner. He's
yes, kind of weird.
Which
we have the DC showrunner still finishing up his Marvel movie before he goes to run DC. Interesting.
Well, Marvel shot themselves in the foot by.
Well, they sacked him off, right? Yeah.
And making him a bit of a pariah. The other, DC just went.
Well, and certainly his Justice League was entertaining. I had a good time.
Yeah, that for me, that movie was a lot of fun. There was stuff that I really hated about it, but overall, I really enjoyed that movie.
Me too.
Let's face it, Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, is one of the best Marvel movies. It's right up there with Winter Soldier for me as the peak.
It's one of the last movies that feels like a proper true standalone movie as well.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to know anything about the rest of the Marvel universe to watch that film, which is more than could be said for most of them. Like, my dad watched that, and he's never watched any Marvel films. He loved that movie just as a sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
He just had fun with it.
And I liked a lot of Gunn's other stuff. I really love Slither. I think Slither is.
Oh yeah, Slither's great.
Really and funny, and I think
he's a trauma guy, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's a trauma guy, and there were a slight alarm bells.
And I say that with love.
Yes, of course. The trauma movies are great.
Yeah, they have their place.
They're great.
If there was an opposite to Hallmark movies, it would be trauma.
They should put that on their thing.
Yeah, the opposite
the opposite of Hallmark. Yeah, I like that. That's good. Oh, we're still getting that weird Toxic Avenger.
Oh, I don't know.
Aren't we? With what's his name? The guy who played Tyrion. Which just sounds weird to me.
Yeah, I'll give it a go.
But it does kind of sound very trauma.
Yeah, that's the thing. It does sound trauma, doesn't it? It's just like, okay.
They would do so.
Yeah. We'll see.
There's this slight alarm bell that maybe all the DC movies might end up being a little too funny. Like, I hope that's not the case. I mean, I'm not saying they all have to be Zack Snyder dark, but there has to be at least some sort of gravitas to these movies. So I'm hoping they're not going to go lean into the humor too much, because then that's just in danger of doing what Marvel's doing right now. Well,
yeah. It needs its own identity and it needs to do its own thing.
But he put forward his proposals for the universe, and apparently the bosses really liked it.
They were like, well, it's such a shit show, it's worth a try.
Yeah.
Why not, buddy? Why not?
And if he's found a way of fucking working out all the strands that are everywhere right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he just needs to say we're rebooting.
Yeah.
But we're going to keep some of the characters. Some of the actors, and that's fine, right? Just draw a line in the sand and just be like, look, this shit show is over, and we're starting again. Yeah. But hey, we're keeping Henry Cavill is Superman. That's fine. We're keeping Jason Momoa as Aquaman. That's fine. We're keeping Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. That's fine, because they rebooted Bond into a very different series, like it or hate it, and they kept the same M. and that was fine. Everyone was
No,
like, Dame Judi Dench does not fit in with Pierce Brosnan and this, but somehow fine, it's Dame Judi Dench, and she works.
That was one of the weird things about that. They really should have got rid of.
I mean, they should have, but we accepted it
because it's too much of a hang on from what those movies became.
Roger Moore levels of silly.
I don't want to go into fucking. Oh, Jesus
Let's
Christ.
not end on a downer. We've just been talking about Hallmark movies.
But the other good thing is that I think, because I like them and I like his portrayal, Ben Affleck's back as Batman as well.
What, like long term?
I think so.
Christ, okay.
This does mean that.
I mean, I love his Batman, but Jesus, the guy's old now. Like, how many years can he possibly have?
It depends what you do with it, doesn't it? I mean,
I guess so.
If he ends up,
I mean, I am on record saying I think in terms of live action, he's probably one of the best Batman we've had. So
yeah, agreed, completely agree. I mean, I would say the Batman v Superman was worth watching just for his scene in the warehouse.
Oh, the warehouse scene's great. So someone played the Arkham video games.
Yeah, someone played Arkham. This does mean that the Batman might not get a sequel.
Yeah, I guess it might not. I mean, it could just do its own thing, and I know you're not going to care
anyway. So, if that falls away, so be it. I mean,
it does feel very different. I don't see why they couldn't just do that on the side anyway, to be honest.
It would. I think it's going to be weird, though, having two Batman. I mean, not really, because we're all used to fucking multiple things. We're
in a multiverse age.
Comic fans are, and we've definitely hit peak multiverse right now.
Yeah, peak desperation.
But it's whether they want to put the money into it, isn't it? It's whether they want to.
It didn't do as well as they were hoping, did it? So
it didn't. No, and I did say in my review, I was looking forward to that being. I was looking forward to a second movie of that more, because I think it would settle down and it would.
Me too. I think a lot of the issues I had would be addressed in the second one.
Yeah, I think that's. But
I do really love Affleck, so if we're going to get Affleck as Batman,
yeah, exactly,
I'm down with that.
I'm more than happy for it to disappear, really. But that's kind of it.
Well, there we have it, Matt. What are we watching next week?
So, even though Halloween will be over,
it's never over.
It's never
we're gonna be reviewing Hallmark Christmas movies from now until Christmas.
Well, we usually do a Christmas movie. I mean,
we're gonna do Melissa Joan Hart Christmas Hallmark movies from now until Christmas, because there are definitely enough of them.
I mean, yes,
she's done a lot,
and I have seen some of them as well.
Yeah. One in particular, because the trailer. Well, I was like, I need answers, so I need to watch this.
Which one's that? Was that the Scroogey type one?
No, it's one called Christmas in Handcuffs.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
And basically the trailer. Well, actually, the movie does this. It's not even it's not even just a trailer. This happens in the movie.
Right.
She is single, like every Christmas.
Like
she feels like her parents are, upset or disappointed that she's single.
Yeah.
So this year she lies and says that she's got a boyfriend. And then they invite him as well, obviously, because that was obviously going to happen, but she hadn't considered that. So she decides to kidnap this guy that she just met and basically take him with her. But it's not the fact that happens, which is ridiculous enough. It was the fact that in the trailer, and in fact in the movie, she kidnaps him with a flintlock pistol.
Wow.
In the modern day. And I was like, "What? That needs a watch. I need to know how that came to be."
I really want to see this movie.
Honestly, it's worth a watch. I believe it's all on YouTube. It was the last time I looked, it was all on YouTube, so I don't know if it still is. But
I really love Melissa Joan Hart. We're roughly the same age,
right?
and I have liked her since
Clarissa Explains It All. I remember that show.
And I love Sabrina. I thought Sabrina was so great. Again, it's rubbish, but I really love it. And I think she's so sweet. She seems like a genuinely lovely person.
Yeah. She really likes Bristol Balloon Fiesta, doesn't she?
Does she?
Yeah, she was posting photos from Bristol Balloon Fiesta a couple of years back.
I did not know that.
Pre-pandemic, yeah.
Wow. Oh, I like her even more now.
Oh, there you go. Anyway, what movie are we watching next week?
So, two things inspired this decision.
Okay.
One, I thought, well, we've done Dracula, we've done Frankenstein. Let's move on to werewolves.
All right.
And we discussed this briefly the other week. We mentioned it.
American Werewolf?
No, we've already done American Werewolf.
Oh, have we? Okay. I don't know what we've done and not done at this point.
Company of Wolves.
Ah, yes, Company of Wolves. That's a fantastic choice. Love Company of Wolves. Yes, that's going to probably be a long episode because we'll be talking about the visuals forever.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Company of Wolves is what we will be doing.
Sounds perfect. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, let's not say too much about it because that's a great movie. Cool. Well, we will be back next time with our review of The Company of Wolves. Or is it A Company? The Company?
It's The Company.
It's The Company, right? Yeah. The Company of Wolves. And until then, stay safe, take care, and we will catch you next time.